I know you've played very little of Tekken, but we've both
You're
played.
like an extremely little amount. So guide me through your time
through
with
Tekken.
the
Oh my God.
King of the Iron Fist. Is that what it's called?
That I sincerely hope so. So let me give you some.
Oh wow, what a way to start that cutscene. Jesus.
Let me give you some context on my history with Tekken. So I played Tekken 2 on the PlayStation 1 a lifetime ago, like truly decades ago. And that's the only Tekken I've owned since Tekken 8. Everything from Tekken 3 onward, it's been experienced like through a friend at a random person's house that has it on PlayStation. So I'm way behind in terms of knowing in depth the mechanics, the story, etc. So I did a bit of reading before diving into Tekken 8 just to catch up. And what happened, let me tell you, lots of people being thrown off cliffs, lots of Mishima nonsense.
Into volcanoes.
Lots of devil genes and coming to terms with that. And Tekken 8 picks up there with Kazuya being the big bad and his son Jin trying to stop him, trying to come in terms.
Shocker.
Shocker. You know, does he embrace the devil gene or does he? Yeah, but story, I'm going to come out and say it is absolute nonsense, which I think no one expected Tekken 8 story to set the world on fire. So if you're coming in for the story mode, expect some good eye-rolling action and don't expect a long playtime. I think it takes like 3 to 4 hours to get through the 15 or so chapters.
Oh wow, that is quite short.
It's super short, and most of the time you do actually play as Jin. So if you don't like Jin, good luck, Godspeed. But the real meat and bones of Tekken lies, obviously, I mean, it's a fighting game. You're there to play against other people online. And on that front, it absolutely nails it. So I was saying to you, I'll talk about the systems shortly, but if you don't know how to play Tekken, for example, you don't know how combos work and air juggles and, you know, what are all these meters, there is an arcade mode, which kind of reminds me a little bit of Street Fighter story mode where you make an avatar and you are guided through a story. Street Fighters is a lot more RPG-esque, but in terms of how it holds your hand and it guides you through the mechanics of the game, that's where a newcomer should probably start. Because then it does talk about, you know, Tekken is the game, if I'm not mistaken, that introduced air juggling to fighting, like the whole fighting genre. So it's very big on that. If you don't know what edge juggling is, that's launching your opponent in the air and then keeping them up there with combos because they can't block your attacks. But then Tekken also has 2 bars, which we'll get to, I guess, when gameplay shows. You got your rage bar, which I think it's been a persistent thing since Tekken 6, if I'm not mistaken. When your character hits low health or when it gets below a certain threshold, you get the opportunity to counterattack with a powerful move, which does like a significant amount of damage. But the biggest introduction to Tekken 8 is this thing called I'm going to butcher these names because it's very technical, but in my head, it's just the heat bar or the heat system.
I think that's right, yeah.
Each round, you start with this bar full, okay? And you can activate it at any point, and I think it lasts about 10 or so seconds. It's this bar that you activate, it drains. When you're in this heat mode, your attacks do chip damage, so your opponents, you know, even if they're blocking, you'll still do a bit of damage to them. Your moves do more damage, and I think you unlock entire move sets. So it's this cool thing of, you know, I think what they're trying to do with Tekken 8 is really push aggression, because the moment your heat mode is activated, like you want to get in and do attacks because you obviously want to do chip damage and maximize your damage. The trade-off there, though, which is quite this interesting balance, is that obviously your opponent has access to the same bars you do. So when you pair this heat bar, which you can activate at any moment, and this rage bar, which triggers when you get to low health, it's this interesting balance of like, okay, for example, like I start a match, my opponent absolutely destroys me with their heat bar, gets me to low health, but I can also now counterattack with my rage bar and my heat bar to do huge amounts of damage. So that's just like a very surface level understanding or explanation of the systems. But as for the game itself, it's Tekken. Like Tekken, I think remains probably my favorite fighting franchise, purely because I've got that connection to Tekken 2. And if you've never played Tekken, it is, I mean, how do you describe it? It's like a fighting game, but not necessarily on a 2D plane. You're sort of in like a 3D
it's definitely
arena.
not. It's like it rotates in 3D, yeah. So there's definitely ways you can avoid or hit people in
like you can
a
step
dimension
down
that's
or
not like
up.
normal.
Yeah. And it is one of those games where there are tons of combos, but you don't need to know it be, if you want to get into the nitty gritty, you want to get sweaty online, like there's obviously a lot of depth there, but you can 100% get away with just mashing the buttons. You're going to do some really cool combos. And what's cool with Tekken 8 is that there is I can't remember what the mode's called, but you can flip between just like a normal mode and I suppose like an assisted mode where...
it's called a special style, if I'm not
mistaken. Special style. If you put that on, the game like does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. You can push.
Yeah.
I think it's
like the assisted mode from all the games.
From all the other games.
The fighting games we've seen recently, yeah.
So it really simplifies the game to the point where you can just spam square for, to string combos together, then pepper in triangle to do air juggles, and X and circle do like low attacks or grabs or something. So this game, it makes this game like instantly accessible to newcomers. And again, if you're going to go online and do that, you'll probably be destroyed by people who actually know how to play the game. But it is cool that modern fighting games, like I remember Street Fighter 6 last year. Street Fighter 6 is not necessarily, it's not impossible to get into, but I think there's quite a high skill ceiling. But there was also an assisted mode, which just simplified combo inputs. Mortal Kombat also had something similar, if I'm not mistaken. And now Tekken 8, it's the same thing, where it just makes all these fighting games are now less daunting as to newcomers, which I think is really cool. Tekken 8 is a package though. I've played a bunch online. I've actually played so obviously I'm from the UK. I've played in the lobbies, had no issue. The lobbies are nice and full. But what's cool is that there are African lobbies as well, and I've joined those and I've played against people, and I think it's rollback netcode works well. I've played a bunch with John Michael, and if there was lag, I never noticed it. It felt like we were playing like seated next to each other. So if you're buying this in South Africa and you don't know how it's going to work internationally, I think it'll work absolutely fine. Yeah.
I'm sorry. You ended your sentence there as you playing as Kuma just did what the fuck is happening in this game?
Let me tell you that's Kuma's rage attack.
Okay, so Kuma's rage attack is, firstly, if you don't know, Kuma, big bear. Just a bear. Like with a
straight up
vest on. Pulls out a gigantic fish. Whacks Paul Phoenix, big hair guy without big hair anymore, over the head with it. You think that's it. The fish then turns into a rocket-powered drone, which flies into Paul and explodes.
You've seen nothing.
This is a bear.
This game goes places, let me tell you. And
this is why Winnie the Pooh should have never been put in the public domain.
Please, somebody make a Winnie the Pooh skin for Kuma on PC.
Oh my God.
Thank you in advance.
There's so much that's happened while you've been talking. I've been listening intently, but I've been soaking in what's been happening in this like story mode. And I'm just like, okay, firstly, there were two guys talking in a submarine. Now they're fighting in the Colosseum in Italy. Now there's just a bunch of fighters. Now Paul Phoenix is looking like a hobo. Also, he's fighting a bear. And then that salmon thing happened and I just couldn't.
And that was it.
Yeah, that broke me.
Tekken 8, good time. If you're a Tekken fan, you know what to expect. It's just ridiculous story, ridiculous attacks and combos. It's a good time.
I very briefly played it. I was hoping there would be like a tutorial mode, which I think has become, I thought was commonplace in fighting games. It's been definitely in Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, where they have like a guided like tutorial to the fundamentals of the game.
Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be that yet, but you've told me that
that
story mode where you
is,
make arcade mode very much takes that place. So I need to give that a go because playing without that context, I was like very lost. And then the practice mode lets you do these cool things where you can pick a character and then they've got combo challenges. So they show you effective combos with that character and then you have to try and do all of them. And I was just playing as King because I thought, okay, a grappler would be a bit better. Wow, those combos are the air juggle preciseness of everything is just incredible. Like really, really hard on the timing. And so I might play the story of this game and not touch it ever again because I just don't have the patience for that sort of. Oh my God, there's another there.
The story mode is short as well, for what it's worth.
Yeah, I watched all the recap videos and I think they all end with someone dying in a volcano. So,
or do they? Do they die in the volcano?
Well, yeah, that's actually a good point. None of them actually die. I think Heihachi is thrown in a volcano 4 times and he keeps coming back. Coming back.
I think unless they're bringing him back in DLC, he's dead. I think there's even an interview.
Yeah, I've heard he's not in this game at all.
Yeah, I actually saw an interview where I can't remember who it was one of the developers or doesn't matter. Someone was like, no, he's dead. he's dead. He ain't coming back. Will they bring him back in DLC? Probably.
I mean, do you know the story where he died in the one game and then the boss in the next game was like his grandfather who everyone else thought was dead?
Yeah.
It was Jinpachi. It's like, what the fuck is this game?
Best.
Yeah. You need to watch the anime on Netflix now.
Oh, yeah.
Don't do that. It's bad.
Where does that even take place?
It adapts the 3rd game.
Okay.
Where Jin first arrives, basically.
Hilarious. I'd watch that.
And it's got Ogre.
That's the big bad. Okay.
Yeah. It's nice. Not a great anime, but still interesting.
Love to see it. That is Tekken 8. What a time.
Taken 8. You need to put Liam Neeson in there.
I will find you.
Yeah.
And I will throw you off the cliff.
I mean, there's been more ridiculous things in Tekken, clearly. So
yeah,
man with gun, probably not, probably on the lower end of ridiculousness.
Lots of nonsense.